I think curiosity and creativity are the antithesis to anxiety. The hard stuff, the unpolished stuff, the unshiny parts of people are the interesting parts of people. We're born whole.
Yes.
Systematically, we get kind of programmed to disavow that. Oh, don't think about that. Be polite, or our family of origin. The great journey of life is returning to that wholeness as much as we can. Life is a blip between two mysteries. There's just this stillness to nature that is so it imitates life.
Acting on emotions as guides to truth. Stillness. Surrendering to what is. Seeking. Using my gifts with purpose. Light. This is the emotional blueprint.
So this is Christie. Hey, Christie.
Hi.
So I've never told you this before. So Christie is a therapist. So you're the first therapist we've had on here.
Oh.
So 2 therapists.
Oh, okay.
So when I first started, I don't think I've ever told you this, but my assigned mentors or supervisors were a little bit lame. They did their best, bless their hearts. I remember taking time. I felt drawn to you right away. And I remember taking time to like just catch up with you and like, hey, what do you think about this client or this situation? And you were like a true mentor to me when I first started. And it's had a big impact on me and many other people for the last 10 years, I think it's been. And that's always meant a lot to me. And I think what was so meaningful to me about when I would come into your office and you would just be like so grounded and like full attention and like fully there is I rarely, if ever, felt that ever from a woman, like up until that point, because I didn't feel that kind of support with my mom, when I was growing up. And what was so cool is I've been looking forward to having you on for a long time. I knew as soon as I started, you've always been in my mind, because you being so still and just present and just you, when I first started as a therapist, I don't know if you remember, but just you being you, it reminded me, it highlighted like the healing I needed to do with my own mom. And you never said, Corey, you need to heal from your mom, but just you being you, it was like a mirror of me.
Yeah.
And that like, eventually that forgiveness and that healing that happened, it's changed my life, dude. And
I love that.
You were a big part of that. Like we were meant to meet 10 years ago. Yeah. And so thank you.
Yes.
So I'm grateful to have you on.
I'm so glad to hear that story. That's very good to hear.
Cool. I mean, you're used to hearing stuff like that all the time. So day in the life of Christie. The other thing that's interesting is that I've been exposed, you have too, I think, to a lot of therapists, like maybe over 100. And there's not a lot of great therapists out there.
Yes.
And out of all of the therapists I've met, in my mind, you've always been one of the best, or in my mind, the best, I think. And so it's just going to be a cool conversation today. But I think the first thing I want to ask you is, just so maybe people can get to know a little bit more about you, is what do you think makes you great at your job?
Maybe I can frame it, what's made me successful at my job. Well, I think naturally I've done this since I was little. I think really great therapists have been therapists long before they became educated to do so.
It's like a calling.
It is. I think it's a natural state of energy, that it's a unique state of energy too.
And you can't teach those. I think they're basically spiritual gifts is how I view it.
I actually agree with that.
You can't teach that at school.
Right. And I think people, if I could quantify what I think maybe it is, I think there is a natural curiosity, which isn't unique, but I think you couple that with I do think it's spiritually based, actually. I do think people, if you're watching, that come into your space, come and find you for a reason. So I definitely think I have that. And I'm fascinated with people. I love watching them change. I am rooting for them. And I think it's at the risk of being maybe a little bit, I don't want to sound obnoxious. I just don't think I judge. I'm genuinely curious. I genuinely think, tell me more about, like, I don't get shocked, with rare exceptions. Sometimes I do, but I just find people to be interesting. I like to hear their stories, and I always have.
Cool.
I think that, humans are natural storytellers. Sometimes you just go be quiet and listen to what they have to say. And I think that actually exponentially makes me a better therapist, just because you hear a collection of a million people's stories and you're able to start to see patterns. And I just think and you really can't have much of an ego about it either. Just like, okay, like here we are. And I'm flawed. I'm not a perfect person. And I think I never really fell in too much to the trap of being performative as a clinician. I think you just have to be like, I'm just here having a human experience with you. I'm not here to save you. I'm not getting an ego boost from this. I'm here to walk shoulder to shoulder with you while you go through something really, really hard. And to me, the hard stuff, the unpolished stuff, the unshiny parts of people are the interesting parts of people. When you get past the BS and you're like, let's go deep, and they tell you their story, I think it doesn't even feel like work to me. And I think it's just really, I find people enchanting. I find odd things delightful about people. And I think that's fun. And then I think that energy gets received and people come and tell you everything. Like, everyone wants to tell their story. And people, I think, really want to tell the uglier parts of who they are. And if you're listening and like, no, it's interesting, it's actually not ugly, it's you. I think that just that thing makes you a good therapist. Don't you? I don't know what your thought is on that.
Totally. It's just really powerful what you're saying, because I love the term like curiosity, because that basically is what we've been talking a lot on the podcast, is like how important it is to put yourself in the role of a student.
Right.
Like the ego of the therapist.
Right.
Or the ego of the engineer, or the ego of any role that people identify with. They actually believe it's them who is like doing the healing or doing the fixing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then what happens as soon as we believe that we are the ones healing people, or we are the ones fixing the whatever? It's well documented. And what happens? It's like you fall flat on your face. It reminds me of the hero's journey, of like almost to some degree, like refusing the unseen hand,
right,
or the call, you could say, to some degree. It's just so natural. It almost just reminds you of like somebody, like I can't walk, and someone is literally taking my arm and putting it on them, and then walking with me and supporting me. As soon as I start to believe that I'm doing it all on my own, it's like that person's like, ew, later.
Sure. And
then we fall flat on our face.
Your ego's made it about you now. And that magic of two people connecting and the reverie between them goes away. And I think our job's easy to get a God complex with, because we really are dwelling in incredibly sacred territory. And I do think we definitely play a part. We're instrumental. We're not the reason they change, though.
100%.
They are brave enough to come see us. Something brings them to us. And I think it's always that balance. And you don't want an insecure therapist either. You don't want, like, oh, I don't know what, you want someone with confidence and like that healthy level of narcissism that, I know lots of things. I know how to read good books and listen to things that will help me help you. But you have to also balance with this insane amount of ego check. That's like, that's not you doing anything. That's you being a vehicle in which that person can make a decision to do something remarkable. We're lucky, I think, and chosen to, a good therapist has a gift to help people see how amazing they are. But the work was never ours. We didn't do it.
Yeah. And it's a recognition of where the true the truth comes from or where wisdom comes from.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And maybe just to connect this with other careers.
Mhm.
I mean, just maybe in like business, it's like, okay, the CEO who's making a lot of money and is successful in business or finance or whatever, like recognizing, okay, yeah, just being able to recognize the ego that can develop. Like, I am the one that's creating all this. Like, you're
Right.
playing a role,
Sure.
but there's it's just interesting.
That's a series of events. That's luck. That's the
Mhm.
people that you perhaps chose to work for you, that there's a million things lining up. And like, a lot of it is hard work, but how many people do we know really want something, work really hard, and don't have that success? It's
Mhm.
insane to act like it's you.
That's
It's
a really,
childish
that's a
in a-
really good point.
Not a cute way. It's not a cute childish. It's a
Not cute.
cute. But yeah, no, I think that's a constant necessity as a good therapist, is you're balancing always. Like, you need your confidence and you need to think like, this is sacred. And I get someone is trusting me to tell me the parts of who they are. Like, I'm lucky that I get to hear that. And I'm so lucky I get to watch them transform. Like, who gets the job we get? It's never crappy. I mean, there's hard days, but
I mean, I'm pretty much over it, which is why I'm doing this podcast.
it's on to podcasting.
I'm like, this is my
Go.
way out of here. I'm just
Fun.
kidding. I'll always love it.
It's amazing. It's really, really lucky work. We are lucky to do this job.
I agree with that. So this kind of curiosity and like this humility, I think it perhaps has maybe come more naturally for you than a lot of people. And don't get me, I think you've also cultivated and sought that too, for sure, from what I know of your story and stuff. But what would you say, like, let's say it doesn't come naturally for somebody where they're kind of in this state of like, I don't know, ego or resisting or yeah, just like arrogance. And they let's say they start to recognize that, like they start to become aware of like, okay, I'm a little more arrogant or overconfident or whatever. How can that person start to become more humble?
Well, I think maybe that person might ideally go to their own therapy, and probably with someone who does deep work. I think that's sort of an ego talking, and all of us have an ego and it's necessary. It's over identifying with the ego though. And I think as a clinician, you have a responsibility to kind of keep that in check. And ideally, if you have a mentor, if you have a supervisor, or even another friend that does the work, they help check that a little bit. I think you can kind of sense when that's coming on. And like, what's going on at home? Why do you need to feel like a god at work? Why do you need to, what's happening elsewhere that this is getting projected into the job? I'm
It's almost
superior.
like an overcompensation.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, are you struggling at home? Are you fighting with your wife? Or was your dad punitive when you were little? Do you feel less than? And this is kind of a way that you become a little bit tyrannical in the job, because you've had a shift where you are the expert and you are kind of in this, it can feel like a powerful position, certainly. I would really look and say, where am I lacking? Because I'm overcompensating here. Maybe I could think about that or help someone look at that with me.
That's really insightful. I think it's just such a good message that we haven't talked about enough on the podcast, but because we've talked a lot about like habits you can start getting into to put yourself in the role of a student. We've talked a lot about, okay, your spirit is made up of like truth. And so to identify less with the ego or the mind, it's like, it's connecting more with spirit, which means intaking more truth on a consistent basis and putting yourself in that position. But I love what you're saying, because it's like, you can't see it when you're in it.
Right.
And once you start to you have this beautiful moment of awareness, like, oh my gosh, like I have some narcissistic tendencies.
Sure.
Or, oh my gosh, like I don't treat people very well at my job or whatever.
Sure.
It's like, it's so valuable to find a mentor, whatever that looks like.
Sure.
I think that's key.
I agree.
I don't think any of us can do that alone.
We never see our unconscious. We never see our stuff. I think giving yourself a massive disservice to not be in your own therapy. I'm very passionate about that. I think, it's hard to analyze your own dreams. It's hard to see what we can't see, but sometimes it's very clear to people who know us and love us and are also gifted and with insight. I do think that's actually it should be an ethic in as a clinician, in my opinion.
Yeah, you were my first unofficial therapist.
Yeah, seriously though.
I got very lucky. I just would pop in, little 10, 15-minute minis with you.
Yeah.
But just my story and you is such a cool example of that, because it would have, maybe at some point I would have seen how my mom has impacted me or how my upbringing has impacted me, maybe at some point. But I mean, wow, that exponentially sped up the process for me. Just like some of our conversations and just feeling supported and loved by you was big. And the other thing that I always noticed about you that was so special is your ability. I knew sometimes when I walked in to your office that things were kind of maybe chaotic a little bit in your own life, or you just maybe had a stressful session. But as soon as I walked in, it was like, you were able to be 100%, not always, but most of the time you were able to be 100% still and totally curious and joining my world. And I was that was the mirror for me.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you about that. What have, because I feel like you figured that secret out earlier, the secret of being still. I feel like you figured that secret out way earlier than most people. And so I'm curious, what was kind of your process to recognize the value of being present and being still?
Well, when I was talking to you early on, I was in a massive chaos in my own life, in the sense that I was doing very deep work with my own stuff, right? And I was also becoming a mother for the first time, and then a second time. And it's hard. It's hard to balance a lot. I mean, I'm sure, as you know, babies are born and your stuff comes up woof. And I do. I think it happens to be probably one of the most difficult, beautiful time in my life. But you're right on the chaos. You picked up on that. But I think when there's something, I don't know if everyone does this. Tell me if you do this. But when I'm attuned to someone, I'm in their world. It's almost not as woo-woo as it sounds, but I'm I am looking at you, and I'm almost immersed in your world. I don't know if that sounds weird, but I'm not me thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to deliver this baby in 3 weeks, or what. I'm thinking oh, this is, it's picking up an energy. I don't even know. It's sort of a very unconscious process for me, but I think it is that sort of, I think curiosity and creativity are the antithesis to anxiety. So your own stuff can get set aside if you're genuinely in that person's moment with them.
Wow. Can you say that again?
The
anxiety part, the antithesis.
Curiosity and creativity are the antithesis to anxiety.
Curiosity and creativity are the antithesis to anxiety. That's pretty powerful.
I think we aren't anxious when we're in those moments. So I think that's
it's impossible
right?
to be.
You aren't.
So help people understand why is that true?
I think because in those moments we are not focused on our own ego. We are focused on, we are attaching to something big, to the collective. We're always using the collective when we're curious or when we're creating, even if it's cooking a meal, even if it's, painting a picture or reading something really interesting, you forget. The little tiny ego thing really doesn't matter, actually. It's a lower, again, using woo-woo words, but it's a lower vibration. But when you kind of connect to that big thing, and that person, coming in with their own creativity, their own, and their beautiful, interesting life, you get curious and you forget about do we swear on this podcast? Your own BS, right? You just forget about it.
Girl, you do whatever you want.
I'll keep it PG, or BS. But you do. It's just you're not even thinking about it in that moment. It's sort of, I don't know. I think maybe it's a spiritual thing on some level. I think there's a lot of explanation about spirituality, but to me, it's always just it's a connection to something bigger than us, a connection to the infinite. And however that takes shape for each individual is fine. But one way I do feel spiritually connected to people. It's something that I view as sacred. It's something I view as so beautiful. So I think I'm not perfect at it. There are days my head is swimming with something going on in my life, but that moment I'm like in that person's world, it's like, oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, what's so beautiful about what you're saying is it's an intention. Like I am choosing to go there. And so the way that it's always made sense to me is we can either be in one of two spaces. We can be in the space of thinking and having and entertaining every thought that comes up for us from a negative source, mostly. Or so we can either be thinking or we can be in our spirit. And what's cool about what you're saying is the nature of all of our spirits is that of a co-creator.
Right.
And still. And a student and curious, because the spirit naturally submits to the great teacher, what Native Americans, Father Sky, and it naturally will do that if we let it. And so basically, to put it simply, it's like we can all choose to not think and to be still. And for me, it's always been easier to do that with people. I'm loving this evolution that's been going on for me the last year and a half of being able to do that in a lot of meaningful ways, more than I ever have like alone. And I'm like, it's so weird because I'm such an extroverted human being.
You are.
But I've been like, there's Friday nights, like I just want 2 hours to like meditate and like pray and study and like that. It's just, I've been loving that lately. But anyways, just this intention and our spirit is also, everyone's spirit is has a purpose. It's intentional, So as soon as we choose to go there, and what I tell that you do is you seem to have this understanding that no matter what thought comes into my mind while someone is speaking, it's never going to be more important than just listening to them and being curious. And so I can tell what you do, you're doing it now, is you're constant refocusing.
Yeah.
It's a re-entering that space.
Yeah.
So that just like transforms our relationships. It's not, we're making it sound like it's easy. It's a practice.
Totally. Yeah.
But I just think that's really beautiful. I like the way you said it. So cool that you should say that quote again, because that is creativity and curiosity. Curiosity is the antithesis of anxiety.
Yeah. And you'll see it and be like, dang, it is.
We can't be in both spaces at the same time. We are either present and still, or we are thinking.
I don't think anxiety is like a human function. I think it's something necessity related that we've had to do to adapt to live in the crazy world we live in.
Yep.
But it shouldn't be a state of being. It should be quick.
Yep.
But I think the world is going so fast, we haven't caught up evolutionarily as humans, right? Like
it's like only useful for complete, just pure survival.
Yes. Yeah. It is what it is. And how many people do we know that live in that space? I think you have to think you need to return to something very human. That anxiety isn't a human feeling. I mean, it is in the sense that it's why we haven't been eaten by predators and we protect our babies. It's necessary in tiny increments, but we should not be living in that state. And it's hard because the modern world, our brains have not evolved to catch up to it. So when you said it's a very conscious practice to stay curious, to recalibrate constantly, you almost have to. You have to talk yourself out of it. And the more you practice, it becomes easier to get in that mode. But like when you were saying, when we first met, I was super anxious. Like I had a new baby, I'm adjusting to be a mom, and it's just hard. It's a hard time of life. You're not sleeping, the baby's up. Are they okay? Am I a bad mom?
I thought you were a prophet the first time I met her. I'm like, I know she's going through a lot. I know she's going through a lot, which is why I'm going to send you that book, The Prophet, because it's you. But just how quickly you were able to turn off.
Yeah.
that noise. It's like you fully just got it. Like it's almost like you had an understanding too of no matter like what I said earlier, no matter what thoughts come up, but you almost seem to understand the deception of the urgency that sometimes is attached to these thoughts. Like a thought comes in and it tries to convince us that you have to think about this right now. It's so important right now.
Right.
And there's it's like, I love what you said. There's almost like a rush to it. Like it's a hurry, like, and that's anyone that's creative or engages in any creativity knows that the worst thing for creativity is rushing.
Feel it.
Just hurrying.
Yep.
Let's go. Come on. What in the 90s, all these like bands that would come out, their first album would be like this creative, like wonder. And then they'd sign a record deal and like, okay, you have to come out with 5 albums in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Rushing
Terrible.
the creative process. And then all those albums, all the last 4 sucked. Maybe like one good song in there.
Yeah.
Still, I'm not over that.
No, it's very upsetting.
This is like a big, I'm just kidding.
No, it's terrible. They've killed the creative process. And anything beautiful does get smashed by urgency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, linking back to just being a therapist, I think that also is something that I supervise younger clinicians and newer clinicians. And I think one thing I see that I never understood, but I think I see a lot with people is like, so we've got to get that solved. They came in with this issue and there's this urgency. It's like, again, we can't get in that God ego. It's like, that's not our job. They'll figure it out. They already know what to do. The magic is the relationship, and the magic is letting them trust themselves. And you have to trust them. When it's time, when they're ready, they'll do it. We cannot rush it. It's very, very similar to kind of what you're saying of just, you've got to be, it's a process. We're patient and we trust them enough to not rush our patient. Sometimes they're with us. I have a patient I've seen for 10 years. Still useful, I think. And it's like, I never rush to say, let's terminate. It's like, you'll tell me when you're ready. I think the rushing is kind of not great in any way.
No, it's
therapeutically.
like, it's the cause of a lot of suffering in people's lives. There's no doubt. I love the word that you used earlier when you said like returning. And the visual that came to my mind is like, I'm floating up in my head.
Yeah.
Where clouds and negative and all this chaos of the mind is, I'm consumed with that. I'm lost in that. And then returning to your home. Yeah. There's this beautiful scripture in the Bible, and it says, this passage in the Bible, and it says something like, in returning and in return and rest shall you be saved. And
I love that.
And in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. So
I love that.
It's this returning to God / your spirit and finding rest in that. I can't remember who said this, but I love this. Always stuck with me. This French philosopher said something along the lines of, he was pretty bold. And he said, all suffering in life stems from someone's inability to sit quietly in a room. And that's just always, when I heard that, it's like, whoa, that's basically what you're saying. Basically what you're saying to wrap up some of this, it's like you're saying that what you're teaching us is that in the ways that really matter, slower is faster.
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
And so like, okay, what ways really matter? Okay, relationships and connecting with other people. I have to slow down and be still. Spiritual connection, I have to slow that down and be still. And any meaningful connection always comes from this space of stillness rather than thoughts. So I want to share one other thing that has always stuck with me that I learned from you. There's just so many cool things that are coming back from our time together. One thing that you said was pretty simple, that you said something like, I was always impressed how you would be able to like read Like, cause I think I was in a space, I'm like, how do people read?
Extrovert says.
Like sit down and actually, like every time I read, it's like, I'm just like, lost in thought. And I think I was like 27, 28 at the time, something like that. And it's interesting looking back because so much of the thoughts that were so strong were actually more emotionally connected. It's like the emotions, that energy was coming out through, thoughts and stuff. But something you said, I remember asking you about it or commenting on it one time, and you said, I love reading because it slows down the mind in ways that it needs to be slowed down. And then it helps speed it up in some ways that it's meant to be sped up. And that was just impactful for me. It was cool. And I think about this sometimes when I read. But I don't really have any other thoughts on that.
I love that.
Just kind of goes along with what we're saying of the importance of slowing down and being intentional about it.
Right. I think reading's so meditative too. Cause like even, and I'm like old school, I want a book and I want it to be old from the library or something. And just like the smell of it and flipping the page and like almost hypnotizing yourself reading the text is just, and you're hearing someone else's story. It's something they thought was so important enough to write down and share and give the world. I think, again, almost like entering the sanctum of that writer's mind when you're reading. Like it's kind of a similar experience as like we have with patience.
I like the idea of stillness being the sort of like the fuel for being a vessel for creating. Like that's like stillness is like the gas that is required to make the vehicle do its thing. And you're just a vehicle for carrying creation, like creative ideas to and from these different opportunities. That was really cool.
Yeah,
Well, it reminds me of just like music and art, because if somebody truly is creating from a space of stillness in like, for example, like artwork, then that artwork will point that person back to the source in which it came from in some way.
Sure.
Now that might remind them of sadness from a relationship, or that might remind them of the beauty of, I don't know, a tree or whatever it is. There's a million things that painting could be. But if it really does come from a spiritual place, a space of stillness, it points back to God, or, the source, And I just think I love going to like art museums and just walking around and if, stuff resonates for different people, but when something resonates with me, it's like, I know that this was created to some degree from that space.
Yeah.
And I really am just grateful for that. And it's like, I don't know, it reminds me of that, like, oh, there's like still people out there that are like that.
Yeah. Because
most people you meet are constantly in their head thinking, and, it's like, how can you, this might be an interesting question, and no pressure on the thoughts, but how can you tell when you meet people, how can you tell if somebody is mostly in a space of ego in their life or spirit?
I've actually had this new obsession, is reading kind of a way I deepen, especially people I'm just meeting. What do they want me to see? And that is one, and then the negative space of that. Because, everything's shadow and light, and we have that, that's therapy. But I think if I get this idea that, like we're in Utah, for example, everyone's nice, which I think is great. Nice is a beautiful thing.
That's what you think?
Like, well, dude, I think that's certainly presented.
You're attracting that. I'm attracting like a-holes everywhere.
Well, I think of nice more like a social manipulation. It's not really it's not a human feeling, emotion, way of being. I don't think that.
It's like pretending.
And it's necessary sometimes, but it's always manipulative. If I'm in an awkward situation and say I'm meeting my husband's boss and I'm not really thrilled about it. I'm going to be nice. Oh, tell me where you're from. And it's not even totally unauthentic, but it is always greasing a wheel. So I think if somebody's kind of coming off in a way that I'm like, is that a real human? Because I'm kind of to that stage of life where I'm like, I'm not that interested in hearing the beautiful, shiny parts of you. That's fun and that's fine. But I'm interested in what you don't show everybody. That's what I want to know about. Because those parts get boring.
So you're talking about like vulnerability.
Vulnerability, and even just like people that have clearly done enough work that they're not always dodging and bobbing and weaving. They're just kind of like, here I am. And it kind of is a quirkiness. It's a realness. It's an aliveness. I don't even care what they're super into. It could be Dungeons and Dragons. It could be arts. It could be any seriously spectrum. But if someone's really meaning what they're saying, you feel that. You feel that, right? You like breathe out. Like, oh, it's an intuition,
refreshing.
Right? Like, yeah. How lovely that you're not showing me the shiny polished stuff. I'm past that right now. I want to see what's real. I want to see you in your rawest moments. And I do think it's just a feeling because it's almost like a breath holding when people are being a little bit like guarded, which is fine. It's fine. I don't look down on people like that. I've probably been like that at some stage of my own life, but I like people that you kind of breathe out with, like, oh, you're just here. You're just actually here, alive, full, and unrestricted you. It's definitely a feeling, I would say. And it's not very common, I think.
Let's talk for a second about why this matters. So we're talking about how can you tell if somebody is kind of identified with their ego or their mind, or are they really rooted in their true self, their deeper self, their spirit self? Why does it matter? Well, we're talking about how can we tell if somebody's in that space. Let's talk for a second about why that matters. Well, one of the things that people really struggle with is like finding meaningful relationships. And most people want to find people that they can really connect with, but they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so being able to discern, is this person more connected to ego or spirit? Is a really valuable way to find your tribe.
Yes.
And to like find your people. And so you don't waste, I don't know if waste is a strong word, but kind of, so you don't invest energy into people that are not going to be, it's not going to be worth it.
Right.
So I love what you said. I think just a thought on that question. How can I tell if someone's more identified with ego or spirit? Well, the ego is an identification with form, with anything physical. Okay. So if people are talking more about looks and their thighs and their arms, they're maybe a little too big, or, okay, so physical body, they talk a lot about their body. They talk a lot about material things, cars, all physical stuff. Like you said, the shiny things. Oh, I got this new handbag. Oh, I got this new watch. And the ego also is very competitive.
Yeah. It is.
And the brain, the thoughts that go into our brain, they also, if we let the ego or these thoughts take root in us, it also naturally creates victimhood.
Totally.
Okay. So people that are constantly talking about how everyone else is causing them problems in their life, right? How the unfairness in life, if these are the topics that are dominating, like, don't get me wrong. It's so like, certainly nothing wrong with talking about these things, but if they are just like the dominating themes,
it should be a small part, not the entirety.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can tell if somebody's legit in spirit. Okay. They're talking about things that actually matter, like reflection. The space of the soul is that of a reflective heart. Right.
And they found meaning. They've actually found it. I think ego-based stuff is just a misguided they're looking for meaning, but in the wrong places. I think we have to be careful because everyone's looking for meaning. I do believe that. I think even in their head, it's like, if I get that promotion at work, then I'm something. I think what happens with people in that ego or in that headspace is they've externalized control. into approval from other people, or I have a better house than the guy I work with, or it's a really sad and misguided attempt to find meaning. And bless their hearts, they're trying. But I think why it's important for like what you were saying earlier is like the people in their spirit have found it actually, or at least are on their way. Who's ever fully found meaning? I don't think anyone ever does. I think it's a lifetime journey. Mm-hmm. But when you're getting close, you're in that spirit mode. And I think you feel that with people. Like, oh, I can breathe with them.
It's a returning.
Good. It's a returning.
Yes.
We're born whole.
Yes.
Systematically, we get kind of programmed to disavow that. Oh, don't think about that. Be polite. Or our family of origin expects certain things. I want this from you. We start subverting and hiding away parts, which is fine. But when you start remembering the wholeness, we all naturally have, there is a like, I'm home. Oh, this feels so good. We remembered it on some primal level because we were born whole. And that shifts with time, as it should. But the great journey of life is returning to that wholeness as much as we can, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
That's really powerful stuff, Christie. I love that's really, I think someone needs to hear that. I know someone needs to hear that. Hear what? Well, you're talking about this really valuable Buddhist truth that we were whole before we came here. Mm-hmm. And then our whole spirit, if you want to view it as that, enters this corruptible system, which is our body. Mm-hmm. And so we have these two parts of us, the whole part of us, and then the imperfect part of us.
Yeah.
And in Buddhism, what is interesting is they basically say exactly what you said. It's like, if you just go back to that place as much as possible, that's all you need. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. The only thing that I think could be added on that's more true is that returning to that place is obviously super important, but that is a wholeness, but it's actually meant to grow in light. Like I like to view it as the shape is whole. I just visualize like a light bulb for some reason. And like a dimmer, the more truth and maybe the more we remember about what we already knew, perhaps.
Right.
It like illuminates within us. And I just love the visual of when the body is full of light, the darkness comprehends it not. And so we grow in spirit, and then the ego or thoughts or Satan, whatever you want to call that, lessens naturally through that enlightenment.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think it's just so beautiful the way you described it of the wholeness coming in. So let me ask you this. I kind of already mentioned this a little bit, but why, if it's true that we really are whole, why do people not feel that way on a consistent basis?
Well, I think that we're born into chaos, right? I think we went from, I think it was Carl Jung. Somebody said this. I can fact check that later, but it's life is a blip between two mysteries.
Life is a blip between two mysteries.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So there's something clearly beautiful and incredible that happened before we're here. And there's something incredible and mysterious after we're here. But for this time, I think it's probably meant to be chaotic and dirty and hard. And we're born into a society. We're born into family members. People are flawed. People have been living on this blip, and they're not perfect. They're raising us. They're not attending to us perfectly. Society has thoughts. Religion has thoughts. These things, and every baby's wired to attach, to be loved and endeared and adored. And babies are born with shame. That's a theory, and I think that's very true. I think babies are born with capacity for joy, anger, but one is shame, and it's self-preservation, because if the mom goes, ugh, like the baby learns really fast to attune to its mother, so she wants to protect the baby.
To get that love and approval that they need.
We're wired. It's primal. So the baby wants to please the mother. So early on, we already start going, ooh, when I scream too loud or I get mommy up, I can tell she's annoyed. I can tell when I pushed my brother, she was ashamed of me. I better not do that. Time to kick that off into the shadow. And that wholeness and humans have a lot of dark parts. We're aggressive, we're sexual, we're angry. We do things that really aren't appropriate for polite society.
All a part of the ego, I believe. Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But I think the baby and the child have to learn to you do have to kind of at least polish that. And for the time when the baby's little, they just kind of push it out into the shadow. It's unconscious. But all this starts developing and that wholeness starts to kind of shift down a little bit. I don't think it's even bad. I think part of the journey is just returning as much as we can to what we already knew. But the journey's part of being an interesting person. You don't want someone who never had to do hard things. They're milquetoast. They're boring. I want people who've been through it. I want people who have wounds and scars and have been in battle. They're interesting to me because I've been through battle. You've been through battle. That's what makes us interesting. So I do think the utopian idea of never having not been whole, I don't know if that's necessarily part of the plan. I think we're meant to suffer. It's part of it, right? And then, I don't know, the journey then becomes returning to wholeness after years of disavowing it, sending it to the shadow, I think. That's
We should definitely talk more about the shadow self. I just had this experience. So my dear friend, a year and a half ago, died from cancer, and she's had a huge impact on my life after she died. And one of the things I've learned from her is she went to the source or God and asked for permission to be a part, like to have an intimate and close part of my life, which has always meant a lot to me. And one of the things I've learned from her is that is our ancestors or people that have passed on that we feel close to, they are learning through our life, and we can learn a lot from them. And specifically, what I've learned from her is that after we die, we just can't progress as quickly as we can right now because of this battle of good, our spirit, and evil, ego. This constant battle is how I view it. And like, is lightness going to win today, or is darkness going to take over? And through this training, you could call it, we can progress at a much more rapid rate. And so it's just so important I think there's meant to be this divine connection between people that we feel close to that have perhaps already passed, that we need them. And to some degree, they need us to continue on this beautiful journey,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I think going to funerals, I had a friend pass of cancer too, that she was young and we were childhood friends, but I think it's fascinating. I remember walking to her funeral and there's pictures of me as a little kid and her mom came over. Oh, she thought this about you. Or remember when people hold memories of us that we forgot. They're almost like containers of our own mind, like our own consciousness, that like waking up from a dream when you're like, oh, right. Like they remember these things of us, like pictures of me in my braces and we were tubing and it was like, I don't even remember that, but that's it. Like people do hold our memory in them too. And we hold their memory to us. And I think that is just like when you're talking about your friend, I thought, yeah, that's absolutely true. There's this exchange of memory and needing other, for sure.
Just reminds me of trees, how they're, a witness, like they have a soul.
Yeah, totally.
And they're holding. Sometimes it's sad because I think a part of their nature is they don't have a choice to hold what they see.
Yeah.
Unlike us, we can maybe to some degree we still hold it, but we can process it and maybe let go. But trees, I had this experience just last year. We booked this trip a while ago when we had money and now we don't have any anymore, which is great. It honestly is great. But we took our girls to Italy and we went to Italy, and we went to this really beautiful spot overlooking the bay where there was all these cool trees, and it was like this garden of Caesar back in the day. And it was just like this really cool spot. But I'm sitting there meditating in the garden for a little bit. And I just sensed and picked up that these trees were very sad. Like there was a real sadness, and I felt it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was able to see why, because they were witnessing, I don't know, the kind of the image that came to mind was these tourists that are, maybe really privileged and yelling or mistreating or being selfish, like people are on vacations and, whatever, right in front of them. And they have no choice but to like hold that. And so I think I'm sharing that because I don't think like it just reminds me of like the way that we treat other people and the little things that we say, like it really does matter.
Have you seen that study where they'll talk to plants?
Yes.
Is that not the most fascinating? People talk to their water and say, actually, I'm going to drink this water. I'm talking positively to it. It sounds absurd. But like the data are in for talking to plants. They do better.
It's unbelievable.
And if you talk derogatory to a plant, it thrives significantly.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, it's notable. And this study, those are replicated. It's powerful. I think it's so much bigger than we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And something else I've learned or believe is that when we die, like we'll have this perfect recollection of everything that we've experienced. I'm remembering, I'm talking to you. It's been years since we've like sat down and talked, but I'm remembering all these beautiful moments with you as a new therapist. But when like, I think some people, they just don't, I think they just don't understand like, okay, why does it matter if I yell at my child or or this person or am slightly rude? Like they'll just forget about it in a day. But it's like, no, that can like everything is remembered and witnessed, and it all, is there anyways. And so maybe a better way to look at it is that how important it is to embody stillness so that so kindness can come from that, and we can like say hello to somebody. I really enjoy going out and getting like a smoothie and just really dedicating myself to be really in the moment. Mm-hmm. And what naturally comes from that is just like gratitude for people, even just handing you like,
yes,
thank you so much. Like, and they're like, whoa, yeah, of course. Like, they just don't get that.
No.
From everyone else is like, they don't even say anything. I just think that it's a lost part of the community type of thing.
You watch like toddlers and then old people. They're just like, hi. All they want to do is like, they have all the time in the world. So they're just naturally are so interested. And like, if I've ever been sad when my little boys were toddlers, I remember, it's okay, mommy. Like they were so gentle and they were so connected. I think we get in a rush. We're probably way in ego. I think probably from 15 to, I don't know, when people drop off 65, 70. But there's this beautiful capacity, I think, when we learn from like little kids and older people, they'll just talk. They're just happy to be there. They are dying to have a conversation, and we're so lost because we're trying to, and part of that's just true. I mean, I got to work, I got to make money, I got to pay for my house, I have to get home and get the kids in the bath, blah, blah, blah. But there is kind of this lovely example, I think, watching especially little kids. To me, it's just adorable. It's perfect. And they do it perfectly. They're honest. They're in the moment. They're interested. They're curious. They're genuinely thrilled. Like, have you ever sat down with your daughters and just really talked to them? Like, not like, that's nice, sweetie, but like genuinely. I try
to avoid that. I'm just kidding.
Screw those kids. No, I think it's just incredible. They're so excited that you want to just connect to them. And I forget it. I think I heard this thing. I can't remember where I heard it, but it's so good. It's really impacted me. Parents are bad listeners. And I'm like, that's true. I'm a great listener. And sometimes with my kids, they're telling me a story about a kid at school and I'm jumping into now careful because I'm not just listening. Like, tell me about it. How did you feel about that? The teacher intervening, what did that feel like? Tell me the way I would. I don't know. It's just interesting, I think, with little kids and how magical they are at being able to say stuff and how much we dismiss it sometimes, myself included. I think it's
do you think that's out of like feeling a necessity to control, or it's like you have this feeling of control over these people versus there's pretty much no other humans that you really have that level of, or a feeling
responsibility for me.
Yeah. Like you need to kind of guide and direct, and you overly do that.
Yes.
In these situations, when in reality, it's best to just sit back and like, let them explore like in their own minds, like what the experience was.
Yeah. I think as a parent, I am like, I want you to have an amazing life. I don't want you to be unliked.
It's fear.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And I think it is control. Like, they're just going to do what they're going to do. Kids are going to do exactly and precisely what they're going to do. So I think too, like you're saying with the stillness we've talked about, like maybe embodying that when we're parenting children is I don't know.
My second daughter has had a huge impact on me. I think my story is pretty common, unfortunately, but like probably for the first 2 years of having my first daughter, I wasn't really that connected. I think there was moments, but I just didn't even know I wasn't until we had our second. And she was just different. She was just so full of like light, and she was just walking around in her little cute body, just always smiling, like nonstop smiling, and just like, and she doesn't call me dad, which is kind of funny. She calls me Coey. Coey. And it's like so endearing. So people are like, doesn't that bother you? It's like, she knows I'm her dad. Like, I don't need the title.
Yeah,
it just doesn't matter.
I'm always like, you call me dad.
Well, whatever. Yeah. But like this, the children, especially for guys and the male, I think, and maybe daughters even more so. I think it can both be daughters or sons, but they're meant to partake in like the softening of your soul.
Yes.
And my first daughter's definitely done that, but my second, there's something about her for me that just like, I'm not going to tackle her. I'm going to be this, like, it's just helped me be so much more gentle, and still have a long way to go in that, but it's like, it's had a huge impact on my life. And that translates over into everything, you know, in life. So we're all meant to learn but what's beautiful about children is they're way closer to purity than we are.
Yes.
And so what they have to teach us can fill in some of the holes that we have.
Well, and one way I love thinking about a patient is like, who was this as a kid?
Yeah.
Before they filtered the hell out of themselves. I think it's fascinating, that playground psychology. Like, was this a very measured little nervous child? Was this the clown? I think seeing people that way, and it does sort of disarm defenses against certain people. Because, you know, like, how did you get to this? And then it's like, oh, I love asking them about your child, like the childhood. Tell me everything. Like what were your parents like?
What were you like as a child?
Yeah. How would you be described? In pictures, what were you doing? What was your birth order? I think all these things shape and seeing that, because the child is always, I mean, it's always a part of who we are. It's a very salient, important part. And we just sort of build defense around that very natural part.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Because that's really powerful. So for practical application, what is perhaps one of the best ways to know who you are as a spirit, or to know who you are as a deeper self? The closest thing to that symbolizes that is who you were as a child. What I've seen is maybe around 6 or 7, or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
that's just what I've worked with in my own. That's just kind of what I've seen. I think it can be any age, but it's this, you're developed enough but still, I think close enough to purity where it's like this kind of this integration, so you could say. But like, what were you doing? What were you like? Like, what activities were you participating in? And this is another thing that I've learned from you that is really valuable. 10 years ago, it's all coming back. Is you said to me once, like, because you would ask me, I think, questions like this, like, Corey, what were you like as a child? And one of the things I remember you saying is, Corey, I don't know if you said it this direct, but basically the message was like, Corey, don't forget that, like, as an adult, you have the same exact needs that you had when you were a child. The only problem is now as an adult, like, we work too much, or we don't take enough time to play. I think that's what you said.
Yes. I do stand by that.
I think that's such a valuable exercise, though, for listeners or if people like, okay, I think there's this fear of the unknown. Like, wait, you want me to think less and go more into my spirit? Like, well, what is that? Who is that? Am I going to like who that is? And it's like, well, I promise you will, because it's the younger you before you got messed up.
Right.
I guess
we all
you
do.
could say.
It's part of the human journey. We don't, no one escapes unscathed. I do think, that's exactly what a patient needs to do. A remembering.
I remember, like, so, this is just so cool to me, because when I was 6 or 7 or, younger, I grew up in Idaho, and I grew up in this beautiful area where there's like a river and all these trees, and I would, skateboarding and all these activities, and you mentioned the word flow, or the book Flow, earlier. It's like, what's interesting is this flow state often for us is returning to those things. And this big transformation that's happened for me over the last year and a half is going back to nature more, specifically trees.
Right.
Like, I remember when there was conflict when I was a teenager at home, I'd find this beautiful joy in, like, climbing these trees with my friends and sitting in the tree and jumping off the tree into the water. Like, it sounds so, I'm getting a little emotional. It sounds so, like, dumb.
It doesn't.
But it's like, it was like a real, like, healing and a solace and like a comfort. And so it's like, I think it's just beautiful finding what everyone, I think for everyone, it's maybe a little bit different.
Totally.
But
that version of you could see something symbolic in the tree. And a tree is actually the logo of my company. I do think there's something beautiful and spiritual about trees. I think they have roots. They have a subconscious. They have their trunk, which is kind of the current, and they have their leaves, which gives potential for the future. There's something containing about it. There's something, I don't know. I almost think it feels like a mother. Maybe I'm Freudian trained in some ways. But I mean, it does. I mean, like The Giving Tree. Did you ever read that book?
I read that to my daughter a few years ago, and it, like, really affected me.
Right.
In a good way.
It's very symbolic.
Beautiful story.
And 6-year-old, you could see something in that, something bigger than you were, and something beyond your conscious thinking that really resonated with you. And it wasn't thinking. It wasn't trying to think your way out of something. It was feeling your way into something that was very beautifully symbolic to who you were. And when you could return to that as an older person, there's something profound that must have happened for you.
Yeah, and it's the thing. It's cool because it's not nostalgia,
right?
It is a part. I believe it's actually like a part of who you are and what is going to help you the most to connect with God, or whatever the source. So the Native Americans, their religion was nature,
right?
And the way that they would talk about the earth, this is where the term, in a lot of ways, like Mother Earth, came from,
right?
And from the Christian canon, especially the last couple of years, what's always made sense to me is this whole figure of Heavenly Mother. Is her soul is the earth, is what I believe.
Ooh, I like
and
that.
So it's like, who do I want to connect more? Just from the Christian camp, do I want to go talk to dad right now? Okay, I can pray. Or do I want to like go talk to mom? And just the deep symbolism in nature is.
Well, if we go that meaning, I said how I like thinking about spirituality as a connection to something bigger than us. Nature is totally one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think beauty, I think art, I think a baby being born, like someone dying. These are like that is something bigger than we are. And we all know it. You can look at any text from any book, however many hundreds of years ago. Cave dwellers probably talk the same way. There is something profound when we connect to something bigger than we are. That can be God. That can be, nature. It's all of it. It's all just this. We leave our mind. It's not, we're not stuck in that. We get to connect to something bigger.
Right.
And nature is so stunning and so powerful.
It's the best. Dane?
I forgot.
Oh.
If it comes back.
Sorry.
Corey has a really good sense for like, if I'm going to say something, but it wasn't important enough to remember. It's totally fine.
You've got pretty straightforward signals. You're like tapping on the. I'm just kidding.
Corey can sense that. Actually, Dan, it's just when your head bangs on the table.
It actually is pretty subtle, but I just, it's like a learned thing as a therapist.
Right.
I never want to like interrupt somebody's flow, with my own thoughts. That's what it is,
No, it's just a beautiful conversation, honestly. I think I was going to say something about the mother. I like resonates with me the thought that like Mother Earth is the soul of like our heavenly mother, or of the universal mother, whatever you want to refer to her as, because nature is so nurturing. You know what I mean? It's such a nurturing. It feeds us. Right. It
literally gives
us everything from energy to, all forms of energy come from the earth. Well, not all forms. I guess we do have our sun. It's pretty dependent, but anyway, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of analogies now. It's all beautifully connected. I feel like on that deeper level. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're merciless with the earth the way we are with mothers, right? Like think about, having a child, your body, your mind, your soul, and the baby uses the mother. They're supposed to. We used our mothers too, but there's kind of and the mother survives. The earth survives. We cut down the trees and we take resources from her mercilessly. She still gives, just like what an ideal mother would do.
It would be straight up abuse if it was under any other circumstances other than being a mom.
100%. Those little sadists.
The most heinous abuse is what it would be. Right.
And it's designed to be that way.
I love this Dana, it just struck me what you said about talking about the role of this heavenly mother or Mother Earth, quietly supporting us, constantly and quietly supporting us our every step without ever seeking any recognition.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what's beautiful about. And so when you think about it like that, like I could literally step out on the road and there's nothing stopping the earth from just gaping wide open, and I just fall into a dark abyss and die and melt in the magma of the center.
Right.
And so every step we take is another decision for the earth to support us. And so I just love that recognition. It's I think it's a
reverence.
It's a reverence, and it's opening to a lot of gratitude, I think, that we just take for granted, So
it's a good model for how we should be as human beings, right? Still and present and ever unchanging. It's easier said than done. But
let me share this. This is a client actually sent this to me. And I really I think it sums up really well what we're talking about. He sent me this. He said, whatever the task, Do it slowly and with ease. Don't do any task in order to get it over with. Resolve to do each task in a relaxed way with your full attention. Enjoy and be one with your work. The feeling that any task is a nuisance will soon disappear if it is done with the intention and mindfulness. Take the example of the Zen masters. No matter what task or motion they undertook, they did it slowly and evenly without reluctance. So I've never traditionally meditated until recently. I'm excited to do that more. But I think what can be a meditation in action is I'm going to go out and get this smoothie. But when I'm walking outside, especially outside in nature, I'm going to be very slow with my steps, and maybe not even slow, but just deliberate.
Right.
And recognizing the support of the earth. I have this routine where when I pull up and I back my car, and I always have the same spot that I back into, and there's a tree right there. And I always touch the tree. Sometimes I feel something, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And it just, I love this is a new thing for me of being able to recognize, like, soon that tree isn't maybe, I don't know, that tree is like, I don't know, a protector of that space is the way I view it. And soon that tree will provide shade when it gets hot. And so when I get in my car, it's not going to be as hot. And so it's just, I don't know. I think it's very like healing, kind of the theme to slow down and be deliberate with small and simple like tasks, like driving or going somewhere, brushing my teeth, or especially in nature.
Well, nature doesn't rush either, right? If the tree has the seasons, it does what it does when it's going to do it. I think, actually, that's funny. When my husband was going through cancer, which was when I was at Suncrest, we first met, I was dealing with that. And I remember thinking about, he got sick, I think it was the end of August, and we started chemo straight away. And then we had booked a trip to New York City. It was our city. We loved it. And I remember telling the doctor, like, should we be in a big city? Is he going to get sick? Because obviously his immune system will be obliterated with chemotherapy. And the doctor's like, truly, it's like a 50-50 shot. I would go. I would enjoy it. I would do, it's like, okay. So
sounds like a cool doctor.
He was phenomenal, really good. But I remember going to New York, and it was in the fall when he'd had his first aggressive chemotherapy session. New York in the fall is beautiful, and because the leaves are dying, but they're so beautiful right before they fall off. And I remember we were at Yankee Stadium, and my husband put his hand up, and he goes, and his hair was falling out in clumps, like the trees.
Like the leaves.
Right. And then he was sick for like a season, or like a whole, like 4 seasons, right? So his hair fell out like with the trees. Like he was bald and really, really sick in the winter. And in spring, he was starting to get better and the hair was coming back. And I don't know, I just think there's something like, yeah, trees were like insanely symbolic for me too. There's just like, it's just like, I would look at the dead trees outside, and it just reminded me so much of him at that time. Like, I don't know if he's going to survive this. And those buds coming through on the trees later on just was like, it's so spiritual to me now. Like, they survived the winter. We survived our winter. There's just this stillness to nature that is so like it imitates life.
In our past lives, you were an oak and I was a cypress.
I like it. I'll take that.
And we were close, I believe. Yeah. So maybe one last thought before we transition. I think we got to talk about relationships a little bit, but one last maybe thought before we do that is we live in a time when when a lot of people need a visual experience. Never before have more people been visually intaking information and connecting with that in unhealthy ways, but also in some really cool spiritual ways. So my encouragement is to sum up maybe what we're saying to a practical application is we talked a little bit about this last time. How can I use nature as a way to find answers to deep questions that I have? I am going to encourage this practice. And we talked a bit about this at the end with Ernest. The passage is biblical, but I believe the method applies to any practice and anything pure like nature. So the first is ask and you shall receive. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means approaching nature, going into nature with the right question, with an intention, having a right question. Okay, the second, seek and ye shall find. What does that mean? Well, the cool thing about it, that means like going to a quiet and sacred spot, whatever that means for you. For me, that's deaf trees and water. For you, that might be the ocean or sand or whatever. But you find which spot is like a sacred spot. And you seeking means you're taking the time, you're planning to actually go there. And that might take 20 minutes, however long. Just going there is an act of seeking. And then the third is knock, and it shall be opened unto you. A lot of people really have a hard time understanding what this means. And nature makes it actually pretty easy. So knocking is symbolic, or actually means taking that little extra step to be a co-creator with nature in this case, or God. And with God, for me, a lot of times, we talked about this last time, it looks like often like visualization, kind of imagining, you're going to visit Jesus or God or whoever, and you're actually having a real conversation, spirit to spirit. But in nature, what's really cool is, yes, you can still do visualization when you're knocking, but it's an observation. So nature makes it really easy. You ask the right question, you take the time to go there, and don't be around anyone. Ideally, you want to find silence and tranquility. And then you look for the answer in the scene in which you are at. And if you are sincere and you believe that mother can teach you, my experience is you always will find what you need. And the cool thing about nature, it's a visual, it's a symbol, it's an automatic, clicks with most people, like, oh, like it's a symbol, it's a visual symbol. And the depth and it's just for you. Someone might look at a tree and they might feel like they need to grow their roots deeper into the darkness and face some more pain. And someone else might look at a tree and they might think, oh, I need to make more of an effort to grow, not in someone else's shadow, but in my own light, whatever. There's endless amounts of cool symbolism that will be just for you. Again, it's a practice. So that's just one of many avenues, but that's more of an application of maybe what that could look like for someone.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think too, like nature symbolism is baked into our unconscious just because we've had it since the beginning of time, right? It's what our millions of years ago people saw the same way we do, right? There's something that would have had to have been passed down that makes, I think, particularly, any sort of myth, any sort of nature, things that have been around for a bazillion years, we resonate with deeply.
Because our spirit is really old.
Right.
Too.
And people who raised us, spirits are old. And the people who raised them, spirit was old. It gets passed down. And so to me,
that's beautiful.
The nature makes so much sense why it resonates with so many people. We've known it. It's part of the human condition. It always has been.
It's the universal symbol. It's like the symbol of God.
Right.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Top 2 for me.
Top 2.
Cool.
If you have benefited from this podcast in any way, it would mean the world to us to have you subscribe, to allow us to keep it going and bring on inspirational human beings.